When it comes to money issues and your mate, sometimes logic and reason just get thrown out the window, whether it's the check at dinner, the rent, or your debt. Who pays for what and how much? Big questions. Manisha Thakor is the author of Get Financially Naked. She joins us now. Gotta love the cover of your book. Thanks for being here. First question, you just start dating someone, you get the bill at dinner. Who pays? What's right? I feel like I would always rip out my credit card and try to pay for half.
Probably it's the most loaded question in dating, and it's kind of like, when do you have your first kiss? There's no right or wrong answer. What I like to say is, for the first 3, 5, 10 dates, whoever asks is the one that should pay. I feel if you have a strong urge to offer, go ahead, but certainly once you think this is the person that you're interested in having an ongoing relationship with, sit down and say, hey, I want us to have fun together in a way that doesn't stress either one of us out.
Right, because you can be thinking about that through dinner, who's going to pay for the bill. If you're in a more serious relationship, one person may make more money than the other. That often happens. Then how do you deal with those bills at dinner?
Increasingly, that situation is coming up with layoffs and downsizing. And so what I tell people is just talk about it. There are a couple different solutions. You can alternate, you can split, you can pay proportionally. If one person's making $70,000, the other's making $30,000, the person making almost twice as much can pay 2/3 of the bill. Right. You work it out together, and the way you talk about it with each other will tell you a lot about your financial compatibility.
That's true. You have to be able to talk about these things. Paying down debt, or who has how much debt, that is really a touchy issue for people individually, and especially with their mate. You have to be upfront about it. How should that conversation go? When should you be open about that, or ask your partner about that?
Poppy, so I tell people, if you're willing to take your clothes off with each other one way, you should be willing to take your clothes off with each other financially. And I mean that in all seriousness, because debt is one of those things that comes into a relationship like a propensity to snore, or in-laws, they're bores. So you want it up front on the table, not to judge each other, just to know from where you're starting your relationship.
Not exactly a romantic topic, debt, but you've got to talk about it. Also, when you look at the amount of people that live together before they get married, it's huge. About 6.7 million people, according to the University of Virginia's National Marriage Project. So, you're making that step, you're moving in with someone, you're not married, you're not engaged. What do you do about the rent? Do you split it down the middle if you make different amounts of money? I have friends that deal with this all the time.
This is another hugely controversial subject. So my feeling is this: if a person owns a home and someone else moves into that home, and half the mortgage would be equivalent to the rent that they would be paying elsewhere, it's a very straightforward situation. It makes total sense if the renter is not interested in buying their own home.
Co-signing on loans, leases for cars, a house, etc. It's complicated enough if you're married. What about if you're not married? Should you really put your signature down and be responsible for half of that loan?
Bobby, I'm so glad you asked that, because a lot of people I'm seeing are doing that because they're kind and they want to help. But debt lasts forever, even though your relationship may not. And if you co-sign, you are on the hook. So I say don't do it unless you are willing to pick up that entire debt in a worst-case scenario.
And that's also how your mate responds to that. If you say no, is going to tell you a lot about that person.
Exactly. These questions are very telling, and we're not encouraged to think about financial compatibility as a component of our relationships, but it's key.
We're supposed to think about he called or he didn't call, or he's just not that interested. Yeah, but this is much more important. Manisha, thank you.
Thanks, Poppy.
Thank you.